Hey everyone, welcome to Southern Maryland Real Estate Businesses in Life. I'm Brian Umbach. I am a real estate agent with Real Broker.
And I am Emily Johnson. I am a loan originator with First Home Mortgage.
This is the home purchasing process series, and on this episode, we're actually going to talk about the process of a home purchase. So, if you come to me as an agent, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, have you been pre-approved for a loan so we know what to look at? So Emily, that's when I send them over to you, and that's the first thing I normally have them do. So is that what you would suggest?
Yeah, of course. It's definitely highly encouraged to get pre-approved before you waste your time or waste your agent's time going out looking at houses. Another thing we see is, people are like, "Ooh, I'm going to go look at a $600,000 house," and then they come back and they can only get pre-approved for $525 or even lower than that. Then you get your hopes up, and nothing can compare to that house. So that's just doing a disservice to yourself. We want to make sure that you can qualify for a home that is actually in your price range and in your budget, and that you're comfortable with the monthly payment. That's the biggest thing. So when you come to me to get pre-approved, we do a soft credit pull. We'll get some documents from you, bank statements, W-2s, verify income. And usually if the buyer gets all of their documents to me, I can complete a pre-approval within 24 to 48 hours. So it's a quick process. And then another thing about pre-approvals are they are good for 120 days, which means you have 120 days to find your perfect home, go to closing without us having to pull another credit report. So it's really a quick process to just get that pre-approval first, and then once you find the perfect house with Brian, then you're ready to put the offer in. There's no delay, no waiting for me or anything like that. So yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so, yeah, and once you have that pre-approval, that's when I can find out what your price range is, and I'm going to look at, what do you want? Do you want 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms? How many bathrooms do you want? I'm going to go on the MLS. I'm going to look for that criteria within your price range, and then we're going to schedule showings to go look at houses. So that step 2 is kind of that process where you find your agent. Step 3 is we find your house. But step 4 for the home buying process is going to be offers and negotiations. And that's where once we find a home that you like and we want to formulate an offer, I can't do an appraisal on a home, but what I can do is a CMA or a competitive market analysis and look at the comps and give you suggestions and be your consultant for what you should offer for the home. And that's where we will put together an offer, send it over to the seller, and then the seller will either accept it, totally reject it, or they'll counteroffer. And their counteroffer could be a price difference. It could be something that we may have said we want to require an appraisal, or we want to require a home inspection, which I always highly encourage that you do have a home inspection done. So we're going to go back and forth in negotiation until both parties actually agree on the latest offer. And then that's when the contract is actually valid or formed. So then after that, we're going to move into step 5. All right, so after we've worked out our negotiations on our offer, we're going to go under contract, and that's when we're going to bring Emily back in. So Emily, can you tell us a little bit about what you do once we're under contract?
Okay, so you're officially under contract. Brian will send me a copy of the contract. I will put together an estimate for you and show you a couple different interest rate options, and you can decide which interest rate to lock in at. So I am very big on providing the buyer with options so that they can choose which works best for them and their monthly payment. Once you choose which option you want to move forward with, I will go ahead and put together your loan disclosures, and you will receive those via electronic copy for you to e-sign, or we can send them in the mail if you prefer to actually hand sign those. So the disclosures go over what your monthly payment's going to be, your cash to close, and other information about your loan and what your rights are as a buyer. So we send those out to you. Once you send them back to me, I can start the loan process, which involves ordering title work and the appraisal.
Awesome. And now that we're under contract, the next step we're going to also do is go through our inspections. And the inspections are so important because we can look at a roof from the ground, but we don't know if there's anything wrong with it. We can look as we walk through inside a house and see if we see stains on a ceiling, but we don't know, maybe someone had something and they painted over it and it's something in the attic. And that's where licensed inspectors are so important to look at those, along with, are there termites? Are there carpenter ants? Are there whatever it is? And that's where inspectors come in. Is there a pool on the property? Is there a chimney? All these different inspectors have specific training and years of experience in that. And that's why it's so important to have the home inspections done.
Yeah, and it's important too to work with people that are local, people that you know that your agent refers or the lender refers, because you know you want someone that you can trust and know someone that's actually going to do a good job and give you information, not just blow it off so that he gets paid.
Yeah, absolutely, and
paid.
they have, yeah, he or she, yeah, and they have to be licensed. You know, you can't do anything without being licensed. All right, and now that we're through the home inspections and everything looks good, and if they don't, we've renegotiated the contract, we're going to move on to appraisals. So Emily, tell us a little bit about how you bring the appraisals in and where we go from there.
Yeah, so the number one thing is people get very confused as to why do I need a home inspection and why do I need an appraisal. So I always like to break that down. The home inspection is going over things that are inside the house, like, oh, let's make sure the electric works, the stove, the air conditioning, and also taking a look at like the crawl space and the roof. The appraisal is actually looking at the value of the home, the actual structure, as well as the land that the home is on. So the point of the appraisal is to make sure that the lender, First Home Mortgage, or whoever you decide to work with, is actually giving the appropriate amount of money that is the home is worth and that the land that the home is on is worth. So the appraiser will go out, make sure that the value, the sales price, the comps, everything line up. They usually do 3 to 5 comps of homes that are within about a 6-mile radius, sometimes more if you can't find anything that's close enough. But they're looking to make sure that the house is actually valued at what the sales price is. So 3 things can happen when the appraisal comes back. The first one is it comes in at value at sales price. Perfect, great, good to go, no issues. The second one is it comes in under value, so meaning the house is worth less than what the sales price is. If that happens, we'll have to renegotiate, which is what your agent is for. They'll help you with that. Third thing is the home comes in over value, so it's worth more than what you're paying for, which is great because you're going into your house with equity. What better to ask for? And then another thing with appraisals is there are some things called lender required repairs. So each loan type has their own specific requirements for the appraisal. Most of them are safety or health things, like if there's mold or if there's like a broken step, safety things that need to be fixed. So if anything comes back for that, we let the agents know and they work to get those repairs completed, and then the appraisal will come out for a final appraisal to make sure everything's been fixed.
Awesome. So yeah, so the appraisal is a very important process, and especially like Emily was saying, where you want to know if it's worth less than you offered, which can happen because the market changes all the time. Or if it's more, hey, that's even better because now you're going in the house with equity, like you said. So that is awesome. Step 8 is the title commitment, and neither Emily or I are actually experts in title and the title process. But what we can tell you is they look for the skeletons in the closet, where maybe this owner does not actually own the property, or 6 owners back maybe didn't own it when they sold it. And so maybe it isn't legal who has it now, and somebody way back from 100 years ago has ownership of the property. So that's what they look for. And I am going to get a title company, an individual from a title company, to do a video that we can add actually to this series. So that's a little bit about the title commitment, and we will get you more on that. So step 9 is going to be the financing, or kind of final financing, where we've talked about the pre-approval, we've talked about the appraisal, and now it's kind of wrapping it all together right before we get to the last step, which is closing. But the last step in financing, tell us a little bit about what happens there.
Yeah, so the home buying process is anywhere from about 20 days to 45 days, just depending on the timeline for the buyer and the seller. So during that time, while you're getting your home inspection done and we're looking at the appraisal and everything, the lender is working in the background to finalize everything. Your loan is going through processing and underwriting. So towards the end of financing, we're also making sure that you have your homeowner's insurance, your property taxes are correct, all of that kind of stuff. As we're coming up on closing, we're finalizing the numbers, whether it's the monthly payment or the cash to close. So just to break down the monthly payment for you, it does include the principal and interest, the homeowner's insurance, your property taxes, and if you have any mortgage insurance, and then your homeowners association fees. So as we're wrapping everything up, we're finalizing those numbers, and then we're going over them as well with the buyer to let you know what to expect when you get to the closing table.
Yeah, and so something I want to say about financing is, remember, step 1 was getting pre-approved. We're now on step 9, financing. There's been 20 or 30 days possibly in between these 2 times. So let's say you were pre-approved and prior to getting financing, you're like, man, I've really wanted that new Corvette out there.
Oh boy.
Or, man, I've got to get furniture for this house. So I'm going to go put $10,000 worth of furniture on a credit card. That is something also that they look at right before the financing. They kind of do a reevaluation to see if you can still afford that monthly payment. And have you had that happen before, Emily?
Unfortunately, yes. Someone where I pre-approved, one of the loan types we were doing was very, very strict, and he was right on the debt ratio that he needed to be, and he decided to go buy a car right after we put an offer in on a house. And I had to make the call where I said, I'm so sorry, I have to switch loan types. My buyer went and bought a car, and now his debt is too much, and he no longer qualifies for this loan type. So excellent point, Brian. After you're getting pre-approved and during the loan process, do not co-sign on anything, do not open any new debts, do not run up your credit card limits, do not have any late payments, because this is mortgage sabotage. You will jeopardize your opportunity to buy a house by doing something so silly like buying a couch that could wait until literally the day of closing after you sign your papers. Whatever you do after that, we don't care. Just don't jeopardize your chance to actually get this house.
Yep. So that's why we want to bring that up, because this series really is about informing you of the things to do and the process, but we also want to let you know the things to not do to jeopardize yourself in one of your biggest purchases you'll have. So right before we do closing, we will go do a walk through the home. And this is to make sure everything is where they said it was going to be. If they said they're going to leave the washer and dryer is still there. Let's say we negotiated a basketball hoop that's outside. The basketball hoop's still there. Make sure if when they moved out, there's no new holes in the walls. They didn't paint a weird color. They didn't take the sink with them. So those are all things we're going to do on a walkthrough. And there's normally not holes and all that, but it's things we want to check before we go sign all the paperwork and we sign off on that we've done our walkthrough. And then our last step is closing. So let's say we've gone from step 1 to step 9. We've solved all the issues. We're at the closing table. How are you involved there? Just anything else?
So I love going to closing. You know, in the world that we're in now, a lot of my job is via email or cell phones, text messages. It's not often that I have people come into my office anymore because everything can pretty much be done online or over the phone. So usually going to settlement and the closing table is the chance for me to actually sit down with the buyers face to face, get to know them, crack some jokes. And it's honestly, it's an exciting thing to celebrate. So I love being a part of the celebration. And you know, it's a great time, and you also learn a lot, and you get to know more people when you go to the closing table. So that's how I do it. I help you get your payments set up, you know, when or after closing's done, when your first mortgage payment is due, I'm helping with that. And then I'm also staying in touch with you because, you know, rates do change. Right now we are in a little bit of a high interest rate market, but we're hoping they'll be coming down soon. So I keep an eye on the rates to where if it's beneficial for you to refinance in the future, I'm here and I'm ready to help you, and I can go based off of your old loan file. And then also just staying in touch. You know, I love my clients. I invest a lot of time in them. And it's more often that your clients become friends than your friends become clients. So I like to stay and have that emotional connection with them and, you know, support them on their new journey.
It's awesome. So that in general is the quick down and dirty of the home buying process. And we're going to break down a lot more of these steps and the types of mortgages that you can apply for in upcoming videos in this series. So thank you for watching Southern Maryland Real Estate Businesses and Life. We're going to continue this series, so please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. I'm Brian Umbach. I am a Southern Maryland-based realtor with Real Broker.
And I'm Emily Johnson, a loan originator with First Home Mortgage.